With a 2-point lead in the ball in overtime. Lowry for three, and it's through. Rebounces Siakam to the basket. Big time block. Andre got him. Reggie Jackson from the corner. He hits it. Woo! Blake gets an Andre screen. Bounces back to Dre. Fouled on the shot drive. Got them both.
The three-point line.
Lowry to the basket. Can't score it. Luke Kennard comes over. Pistons by 3. Second one around and down.
Don't mind it now.
Blake has 27. And it's over. The Pistons win in overtime. 112 to 107.
Welcome into Views from the Sideline. It is March 5th, 2019. It's the greatest month of the year for basketball fans. March Madness around the corner. NBA basketball starting to heat up again with the playoffs around the corner. That was the Pistons knocking off the current 2-seed Toronto Raptors in Detroit in what was actually an extremely entertaining ball game.
It's the most electric Pistons game I've seen in a long time.
It was a big-time win for the team that brings them to 31-31. We were talking about how this team was done for when they were 22-29 earlier in the year. They're the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference right now. They'd play the Indiana Pacers in the first round, and I think they could make that series interesting. Again, that's still about 20 games down the road, mid-April. We'll get closer to that. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk some playoff Piston basketball. But what's going on, guys? How's your Tuesday going?
Just another Tuesday.
Just another Tuesday. Nothing.
Yep.
Nothing.
I didn't eat
exciting?
any punchkis today, so you know.
Oh, okay.
None of them?
Nope.
Me and Chris got a cookie before. We're energized. We're ready to go.
Pre-show cookie.
Also, I'm happy. Big NBA news. Andrew Bogut is coming back from Australia, ladies and gentlemen. He's a Golden State Warrior again.
Is it official?
Andrew Bogut, I think
Did he sign that
I
contract?
think they're working on it right now. It's a whole thing.
Scoop
with his
from
Australian
our
team.
very own Malik Hill.
But
Yeah, they have to just wait till his
man,
season's over in Australia.
seeing Stephen Clay and Draymond and Bogut back together is it's gonna be like old times.
Draymond turned 29, I think yesterday. Dude's getting old.
Oh,
You don't realize all of these guys.
He only has a few more years left to be in.
I mean-
He's already shown signs of dropping off, but yeah,
I don't think people realize how old Steph Curry is either.
Isn't he 30?
Yeah, I think so. Might be 31 at this point, but yeah, he's been in the league a lot longer than people think
since
or
09,
realize. Yeah.
10 years in.
Vince Carter's what, 42?
Hey man,
Dude, still
let's
jumping,
not bring
still
up
hooping.
Hey,
What did he drop? 23 points against the Heat last night? 21 or 23?
21. Yeah,
21.
He
still
can-
trying to
he
put
can-
people on
he can
posters.
still give you one every now and then. I'm waiting to see him in the rec league over the summer with the older guys where he can really get off.
The big three.
I want to see him banging on people.
See him playing the big three. I don't know. He might come back next year.
Honestly,
He hasn't said whether
Listen,
he's done.
he needs to go out with a dunk contest.
Vince, retire.
no.
Start commentating.
No.
I want to see you commentate because I see you do it in the summer league.
That's a
and you're
bad
great at
take.
it.
That's a bad take. Vince, if you're listening, do
dunk
not.
on people in the rec league. Give us old Vince there because you can't do it in the NBA anymore.
He just dropped 20 points.
Does anybody know?
That's not old.
I'm just saying,
A
he's
lot of
still
people
hooping.
get 20 points for once in a season
Malik,
is hooping.
tell me if you can score 20 points in an NBA game.
I'm not. You just turned it over to me. I played a year of varsity high school basketball and then quit,
Quitter's
That's all I
mentality.
had.
That's not good.
and I
Quitter's
got better
mentality.
since then. But that doesn't matter. Let's get into the show. We're
Joe, what's going on over there?
I'm trying to look at who is the oldest person to ever play, and
I'm pretty sure isn't it Robert Parrish?
Yeah.
he played when he
Like
was
47.
He was 45 years and 363 days. Why didn't he wait 2 more days?
Maybe the season ended.
Could have been 46. He played 1 game.
Probably the season ended.
Parrish played way too long.
Is that all you're looking for, Joe?
Yeah. I was just
Okay.
saying if I was just seeing if Vince Carter could make it. Oh wait, no, that's some other guy that played in a 47-48 season.
1947.
Parrish is the third oldest, apparently.
Fun
He
fact.
was 43.
Well, let's jump into the show. As interesting as the oldest player to ever play in the NBA is, let's talk about some actual topics here. We got to start Michigan. They move up to number 7. They beat Nebraska handily, 82-53. Then they beat Maryland in Maryland. Currently, they were number 17 at the time. They're really setting themselves up well for a revenge game against MSU this Saturday, March 9th. Malik, what did you see from Michigan over the past 7 days to kind of rekindle your feeling of this team?
The fact that they rebounded so well from that Michigan State game, there was no carryover from that game. They handled Nebraska. There was no contest. Nebraska's not a very good team. They treated it like they're a very good team beating a bad team. There were new elements being involved, which a surprise at the last minute of this season. Colin Castleton is coming in as a true freshman. I honestly thought he'd be a red shirt, but he's coming in. I knew he had skill, but he needs to put on a lot of weight.
That was
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah,
Shannon Sharp wanted to get something in there real
We
quick.
good over there, Chris?
You got to talk to Shannon. Shannon wanted to get his piece.
Well, old Shay Sharp isn't here, so yeah, I'll get back to my point. He starts bringing in Colin Castleton off the bench. The kid has post moves. We haven't seen his jumper yet, but that's something he also has to his game. He doesn't have to show it yet. Very encouraging seeing him. Dave DeJulius getting more minutes, although he's not given the impact I thought he'd have so far, but it's okay because they're still playing well.
Was it you or Joey that were big Dave DeJulius fans?
I was a big Dave guy.
Joe
I've been
Quick.
watching him for
Joe
a few
Quick
years.
with the point to Malik.
Mm-hmm. He's one of Malik's guys.
Yeah. Also, I'm happy to see they can find ways to win without one of their main contributors, maybe the main contributor on that team, Charles Matthews, probably the most important offensive element. He's out of the game. Their defense is good enough, even with the offensive slumps, which they seem to have every other game. They're not a good enough shooting team consistently to just shoot people out of the gym.
I mean, in this case, they were, though, against Nebraska.
Yeah, against Nebraska. Oh, yeah.
Brasdeikis was 4 for 5 from deep. Teskey was 3 for 3.
Yeah, when they have a bad team and they get those open shots, they have a lot of confidence. But going on the road against Maryland, you can see that their confidence dropped somewhat in the first few minutes of that game. Shots weren't falling, offense wasn't flowing. They didn't panic. They settled in on defense. Xavier Simpson had that offense rolling. He had the hook shots going. Even when he went out with foul trouble and Maryland had a little run, he came back in. The offense got calm again. Iggy Brasdeikis was able to get into a flow in this game, which was fantastic. He finished with 21 points. Isaiah Livers hit threes when he needed to. Teskey hit a 3 when he needed to. And they stepped up when they needed to. And that's very encouraging to see going into this Saturday and going into the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament, seeing that they can turn it back up like this when they need to and just lock in.
I'm withholding judgment until I see how they play on Saturday. I think that's going to be a huge measuring stick for my opinion of the team going into the big dance. I just want to see how they match up, how they can try to contain Cassius Winston. We talked about before the first matchup of Michigan State, how Xavier Simpson's going to be that lock-in defender on Cassius. It wasn't the case. Cassius
Pick and roll took him out for most of the game.
Exactly. Yeah. Joey, what did you see from Michigan over these past 7 days?
They look good. We've seen it before. Like you said, we gotta be a little bit hesitant on it until we see them against Michigan State again. The thing that I like, this is the type of game that I like seeing Xavier Simpson have. This is the game that I've liked. The reason why I've liked him more this season. Obviously, when you see him take the hook shot a couple times, you're like, what the heck is that? Because you don't see it anymore. Nobody really does that kind of shot.
And it's a shame that more smaller players don't patent that shot.
Yeah.
Because it is, as he's shown, if you work on it, it's extremely effective, and people won't be able to really.
Yeah,
stop
you can
it.
get it over a defender easily.
Yeah.
And now I don't see him having crazy games like that where he was like 5 of 5 with that shot right off the bat, I think he'll miss a couple here and there. But if he can get that down to be, like a 60% field goals, that's really good for this team, and that helps a lot with their pick and pop that they can do with Teskey. The other thing that I really liked in this, like the Maryland game, was they showed a little bit of the Castleton-Teskey lineup, which I think is really interesting to go into tournament time, because to have two big guys like that are athletic enough, that play good defense, and with Teskey being able to stretch the floor, can create a really dynamic offense that we've never seen Michigan really have. Kind of like Malik said, the one problem is that this isn't your typical Michigan team to where they don't shoot you out of the gym every night. They're not going to just 3-and-D you all the time. This team does struggle on offense a little bit, but they still have the Beeline offense with a bunch of different weapons. They're not as 3-point oriented as teams have been in the past. And
See, that's why I'm concerned about this team going into tournament play. You need to have that kind of like explosive factor where you can just blow up at any moment. Michigan, we've seen struggles throughout the year offensively from this team. I'm not sure. They're not like the team, was it last year they made it to the Final Four?
Oh yeah, Texas A&M, they shot them out of the gym.
Exactly.
It was a blowout within like the first 5
From the
minutes.
start.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have enough offensively to get it done where they can win consecutive games in the Big Dance. That's my biggest concern with this team. Again, it's March Madness. Anything can happen, but that's just the reservations I have with this team currently.
I think they have the firepower, but you still pointed out like the consistency with it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They have the weapons, they have the firepower, but for it to be there every night or every weekend for the tournament, that's going to be the big question.
Yeah, they're throughout the season. There's a element of guys. There are so many shot creators that there are times where they'll run through the offense, no open shots come open. There's like 10 seconds left, maybe even like 15 seconds left. You're a shot creator, you go get a shot. There are a lot of times where they don't get easy shots, and they're so confident in themselves that they'll just go to the rim, shoot a bad shot because they're that confident. Iggy does that a lot. He's a freshman. Jordan Poole has not really been in a flow the past few games, so he's not forcing it, which I'm happy with, but I want to see him get more aggressive. But yeah, there's consistency issues because there are a lot of times where they lose trust in the offense, and they just want to they like to take it on their own shoulders, which is that they need to break that habit.
Malik, what's the story with Charles Matthews right now?
Well, honestly, I wish I was a bigger reporter and I could know more about his
But do you think
injury problems, but I figure that when the Big Ten tournament comes, he'll be playing.
he's likely out though this weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't a big injury. So yeah, him sitting out these last few regular season games, honestly, I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah, and one more concern I have with Michigan too, with the Charles Matthews injury, again, we don't know exactly the timetable that he will return, which could affect their seeding, which definitely could affect their seeding if he misses games in the Big Ten tournament. They don't have much depth behind that current starting five with Matthews not playing.
Probably 3 players at the most. Off the
Castleton
bench.
played 5. Well, let's just look back at the Maryland game.
Now that Castleton is
He
getting
played
in the
5
flow,
minutes.
you could play maybe 4 people off the bench. But yeah, that's just a 9-man rotation.
Yeah.
If they play that many.
But I think a
players.
9-man rotation is fine in tournament.
But
You're
yeah,
not going to go
okay,
to the
But
depths
yeah,
of your
that's
bench.
the if
a 9-man rotation, but with a rotation that these guys are playing 5 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Beeline is
let me
gonna
go through the
trust-
starters'
He's gonna
minutes.
trust his experienced guys more than anybody when.
But that might come back to bite them later on in the tournament when your guys are just dead and shots are starting to become short because they just don't have the juice.
Well, Beeline has always had a tendency to play his young guys, especially in tournament time. Like when Spike Albrick was a freshman, Karis LeVert was a freshman.
I miss Spike
I
Albrick.
So do I. I don't think they weren't the most talented guys, but he put them in because he needed them to.
Yeah.
When his guys got tired, when there was foul trouble, they had to play. And when they played, they knew the offense. They knew what they had to do. They hit shots. They knew what they had to do, and they did it.
Yeah, well,
So yeah, hopefully these freshmen have moments like that when it comes down to it.
exactly. Just even looking at the box score from the Maryland game, Isaiah Livers 37 minutes, Brezdikas 38, Teskey 36, Jordan Poole 38, Xavier Simpson got 32, so I'm fine with that. But
And
everybody else,
that was
that's
because
high.
of foul trouble. Xavier
Yeah.
Simpson would have played more if he didn't get in foul trouble.
So that's between the consistency from deep and the amount of minutes wearing on these guys. Those are my two main concerns with Michigan moving forward.
I think that's why Castleton's gotten play. I think the depth problem, I think the biggest part is at the point guard. That's where they're going to struggle, is if Xavier Simpson starts to get tired in the tournament. Can David DeJulius figure it out?
Because, at this point, Eli Brooks is almost a non-factor. Because when he comes in my opinion, Eli Brooks is best as a spot-up shooter. Beeline brings him in.
Right. I think of him more as a two guard.
Yeah, I don't think – this is one point where I think Beeline doesn't do something very well. I don't think he uses Eli Brooks to his most capabilities. He brings in Eli to sometimes run the offense, sometimes move the ball around as an experienced player, but Eli never gets to get into a rhythm on his jumper, which is one of the best parts of his game. So he's really not effective a lot of times. And, that's where Dave DeJulius has some pressure, where he is a shot creator, and when he comes in, he feels the pressure to create.
Especially with Xavier Simpson playing hard on both sides of the ball, that's going to wear down on tournament time. I mean, obviously, I think he's in very good shape, so I think he should be okay. But I just think back to last year with Mo Wagner really struggling, and I know he's a kind of a special case where he was just constantly doing everything, especially on offense, and I just don't want that to happen again, where some guy, just a key guy like that, kind of starts to get tired.
Yeah. And let's flip the script here. Talk about the Spartans a little bit. Michigan State, they only had one game over the past 7 days since they played Michigan. They lost to Joey's Indiana Hoosiers 63-62. Joey, what's going on with the Spartans, and why was Indiana able to pull that game out?
I think towards the end of that game, I think Indiana just, they rode the momentum, and I think I think Michigan State kind of got in their own heads and started to get a little nervous because they look good for the most part. I just think the biggest thing is, like, Indiana is so momentum based with their team, and that's why they're so up and down. But they have talent.
I mean, MSU was up for the majority of the game.
Right. And Indiana made a run late in the game. I thought Michigan State was going to basically pull it out, and then all of a sudden Indiana just crept back in. And then at that point, I think that's where it kind of got to Michigan State a little bit mentally, and they're like, are we going to lose to Indiana again? And I think they just kind of crumbled a little bit.
Yeah, Indiana was up 2-0 to start the game. They lost the lead and didn't get it back until they won 63-62. That's got to hurt if you're the Spartans. That's got to hurt your confidence coming off such a huge win in Ann Arbor. And now you got to play those guys again. They got Nebraska tonight. What do you think? How do you think Michigan State comes out against Nebraska?
I think they bounce back just fine. I think they're going to be okay overall. I don't think this really hurts them a lot, but it just shows maybe a slight weakness for the team.
Even though they're a well-oiled machine at this point, and Tom Izzo is doing some of the best coaching he's done in years with this team.
You really think so?
One of his best offensive players out, and he has them running the offense to the point where everybody knows where to be to hit an open shot. Cassius knows who to go to. Everybody knows what they're doing, and they do it well, and they don't stray away from it.
He's missing basically his first and third best scoring
Exactly.
options.
A lot of teams, even when they're well coached, they can't be that strict, and they don't play so they don't trust each other like that to the point where it just flows throughout a game. And that's how Michigan State is playing. But there's still the fact that besides Cassius Winston, if there's a point where the offense isn't flowing, you don't have a true go-to scorer. So there are times where when you play in Indiana, where even though Indiana still has a very small chance to make the tournament, they're a young team that doesn't have much to lose. So they're just gonna play. They're good. They're gonna go out there. They're just gonna hoop. Those young guys are gonna go get buckets, and they're gonna play hard. And when you're playing a team like that, sometimes it's hard to get back when those guys are just playing free and you're sticking within a tight system, and that system isn't working very well at times.
One thing that's a little bit of a concern for me for MSU against Indiana is Romeo Langford didn't even play well. He was 4 for 14 from the floor, not even reaching double digits in this
He
game.
struggled in their first game against Indiana as well.
Very true. It seemed like MSU was relying too much on Cassius, and that's been the case throughout the year. And like you guys said, with their probably their first and third go-to,
Arguably the first and second.
first and second go-to scorers not playing, Cassius has to do it all, and I'm not sure if you can keep that up, not even into the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, the biggest problem right now is that it's basically Cassius Winston and then Kenny Goings. I think he's played out of his mind recently.
I agree.
He is the X factor for that team.
He's looked really good.
His jumper is fantastic. He's the best shooter on that team right now.
Yeah, and
he's the most dependable shooter and defender probably.
But the problem is still kind of like you said, he's not like a takeover kind of guy. He becomes more of a spot up shooter, but you can't just have two guys on your offense. Either McQuaid's got to step up, or
that is the guy that he has to step up. This is really his opportunity to show everybody why he was a somewhat highly recruited player coming into Michigan State. He was expected to shoot the lights out of the ball from day one. And there are times where he shows flashes, but he hasn't put it together in his career. He's known as a hustle guy for the main part, which he has to be more than that for Michigan State to make a run.
Yeah, somebody else is going to have to step up for this Michigan State team for them to be able to stay at the level that we expect them to be. Either McQuaid or Henry or Aarons, one of those guys has got to figure it out. It can't just be Cassius every night because that's not going to work in the tournament. People are going to lock him down. They're going to double team him if they have to. They're going to force other players to score, and Michigan State's going to need somebody to step up.
Let's fast forward to Saturday. Michigan is in East Lansing to play MSU. Currently, ESPN and their matchup predictor has MSU as a 72% favorite to win this basketball game. Is that too high or too low?
I think that's too high.
You think
honestly.
It's well, you would say that.
Every single one of my opinions for Michigan has to be biased, huh?
I mean, every single opinion of mine for the Pistons is biased.
If it said 95% Michigan State and I said it was too high, would you say the same thing?
No, I'd agree with you on that one.
72% is very high for a Michigan team that is just as good and at sometimes better than them. I think they're going a lot off of that last game where Michigan didn't play like themselves and Michigan State played a almost perfect game. They played a fantastic game.
Well, why would you have confidence in a team that couldn't beat MSU at home to go into East Lansing and beat them? I don't.
Because I think the four out of the last 5 Michigan State State games. I think Michigan has won 3 out of the last 4 or 4. I can't remember which one it is, but they've had a hold over this rivalry, and that Michigan State game is almost like an anomaly to me. I haven't seen Michigan play like that in most games this season. That was a game where they got out of their element and they couldn't get back into it because of how strong and settled that Michigan State team is. So Beeline will have them ready. They'll know exactly what they're doing. They'll know how to exploit their matchups. And I'm not expecting any type of blowout on either side. I think it's going to be close the entire time.
But you're, of course, picking Michigan to win.
I don't know who to pick, to be honest. To be 100% honest.
Toss up.
With Charles Matthews out, I don't know. I don't know.
If Charles Matthews was playing,
I think I'd pick Michigan.
Joey,
because he'd be another added defender that would help to.
Yeah. Joey, do you think that's too high, too low, the 72% chance of Michigan State winning?
I think it's fair. I mean, they're obviously giving Michigan State the benefit.
Thank you for your unbiased opinion.
They're making Michigan State have the benefit of the doubt winning the last game, but they are taking into account that they're playing in East Lansing. It's a hard place to play, especially for a rivalry game like this.
It wasn't last year. That's the only somewhat biased Michigan thing I'll say.
I think
Mo Wagner stuck that dagger in them last year, but okay. Continue.
Thank you for proving my point, Malik. Thank you.
This is going to be a really.
I gotta enjoy the
exactly.
Yeah.
This will be a really big test for Iggy Brasdeikis.
Yes,
because
he has to show up.
He's going into a rivalry game where it is very tough to play, and we've seen at times he can get into his own head. If that happens in East Lansing, Michigan State will win this game for sure. If Brazdeikis can get off to a good start and get rolling, Michigan has a very good chance.
Seems like there's a lot of ifs.
There is. But there's ifs on both sides.
Yeah.
Because, again, where does Michigan State go besides Cassius Winston? We already know that he can score against Michigan.
Kenny Goins?
So that's not a big problem. But the lineup that Michigan has now shown with Teskey and Castleton matches up with Tillman and Goings. So that'll be interesting as well. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, which makes this game even more exciting than the first.
It's going to be a great Saturday night. Duke, Carolina, Michigan State. It's going to be fantastic.
Joe, who you picking?
Ooh,
Lock it in.
boy.
Lock it in.
It's too hard for me to pick right now. It's like
Yeah.
you said, there's so many ifs on both sides. Even though it's in East Lansing, I've seen Michigan win in East Lansing with bigger obstacles.
All right,
so
Joe.
yeah, it's hard.
All right, Joe.
Hit me with it. I'm going to actually go with Michigan State.
Dang.
I have a really weird feeling that Michigan State could pull this off. And that might help Michigan for the tournament. Maybe. But that's just what my gut says right now is Michigan State.
Malik, what does your
And I
gut
don't
say?
know where it comes from either.
What does my gut say?
Yeah, what does your gut say?
Not your head, your gut.
My gut says. My gut isn't saying anything right now.
His gut currently.
Of course, I want to pick Michigan, but
Malik, this is
I don't
this
know.
on this
I don't
show.
know.
We live and die by our
Listen,
predictions.
it
I
is-
need you to lock
literally-
something in.
There are times when Iggy Brazdeikis shows up, and there are times when he doesn't. There are times when the offense flows, and there's time when it doesn't. I don't. It's too
It's
unpredictable.
time to put your prediction on the line,
How do I
Malik.
predict something that's
You-
almost unpredictable?
That's a basketball game.
You need to put your name on the line, Malik. I need a team. Michigan or Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Wow. Classy. Very classy. I'm actually shocked that he picked Michigan State.
Did he go with the reverse psychology on that
That's
one?
what I think he's doing. I think that's a great call on
I-
that one,
I-
Joey.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
All I know is Michigan State is going to do what they always do. That they'll probably be predictable unless some people aren't hitting shot. I don't know.
Here's another big factor too, though,
Hmm.
that I'll add in for Michigan. Michigan might come in if Purdue loses to Minnesota, and then Michigan has a chance to take the Big Ten title. Then they might be a little more fueled.
Yeah.
If Purdue wins against Minnesota tonight, I believe it is, then Michigan may feel a little uneasy about not being able to get the Big Ten title.
I don't think so. I don't think that would be the case.
I'm just saying, I think that could be a little bit of a factor.
Maybe. All right, let's transition to some NBA basketball. So the biggest storyline in the National Basketball Association, Tristan Thompson.
Andrew Bogut. Andrew Bogut and Tristan Thompson. That is what we're talking about for the rest of the podcast.
No.
That is not going to happen. Andrew Bogut, maybe, not Tristan Thompson. The Lakers, currently sitting as the 10th seed in the Western Conference. The LeBron James-led Lakers.
At the beginning of the season, if you said the Clippers were the best team in LA, who would have been respected
The Lakers,
in the sports media if they said that at the beginning of the season?
Very true.
You know the Clippers are better.
And-
You would have got laughed out the.
Oh yeah,
building.
definitely.
Yeah.
So the Lakers just lost to the Clippers last night. Before that, they lost to the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. 2 big losses. They sit at 30 and 34. 4 games under 500 this late in the season for a LeBron-led team. They're currently 5.5 games back of the 8th seed Spurs. Basketball Power Index gives them a 0.1% chance of making the playoffs. Joey, as a LeBron hater, does this season hurt LeBron's legacy? And if so, by how much?
I think it does.
Because he
But I
does
don't-
he does consider, remember about the clip that came out earlier in the year saying how he considers himself the greatest of all time. If you're
Yeah.
the greatest of all time,
I think that hampers his legacy more than
Well, but
this.
I'm just kind of putting it to
Right, no, I get you. I think it does. It definitely will, but I don't know if it's that much. Like at this point in LeBron's career, honestly, there's the LeBron lovers and there's the LeBron haters. And I think it's pretty equaled out where, he's kind of made his legacy. I don't know if there's a lot to add unless he can get another title. Then maybe that tips the scale. If he goes out in these last couple of years and struggles, that could tip the scale the other way. And right now it's kind of going down a little bit where a couple more people are coming to the hater side. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it's going to be a big thing overall, at least.
Malik,
I think the opposite.
you think
I
this is
don't
this is
think-
gonna tarnish his?
No, I think this won't affect his
Oh.
legacy at all.
Really?
At all.
Why is that?
Because LeBron apologists and LeBron haters will snap at each other for the rest of the time. It doesn't matter. I think LeBron is already cemented as a top 3 player of all time.
That's kind of what I was
finished.
getting to, but
That
I
is-
think it
I
might.
think LeBron is
That is
top.
finished.
I think
What-
LeBron's top 2.
You could say he's top
yeah,
2.
whatever your argument is.
Exactly. But whatever happens from now on, it won't change that he's
It
top
could.
2
It,
all
it would
time.
alter my decision if the rest of his career he missed the playoffs and or just made the playoffs and got swept in the first round. I think he would go down a couple notches personally. Because the reason why I have him so high-
for us, but then the LeBron apologists will find a
I
reason
don't care about the
for
LeBron
every
apologists.
single. They don't care about the LeBron haters. It's a 50-50. Everything is tossed in the air. It's all opinion. It's all conjecture. LeBron is going to be a top 3, top 2. Some people think he's the GOAT. No matter what happens in LA, he's focused on being a businessman and a player at the same time.
I think more
Listen,
so
man.
businessman at this point.
LeBron's legacy is cemented. There are going to be a lot of people that will drop him down somewhat if he just completely messes up what the Lakers organization is and sets them back 10 years, which he's pretty much doing. As soon as they sign LeBron,
You think it set the
they
franchise back? Did you-
franchise back.
What?
They got a 35.
Hold the phone.
They got a 34-year-old LeBron for 4 years. And
You
he's
had
gonna-
no.
he's gonna retire.
Malik,
And then where do they go?
Let's backtrack, rewind, bring it back. Hold
What'd
the
I say?
phone.
What'd I
Hold the
say?
phone. Joe, hold
That's
me
not a
back
hot
here
take.
for a
That's not even
second.
really a
Oh,
hot
that's a
take.
real hot take. Saying that they put this
Listen,
franchise back 10 years
they-
for signing a LeBron James for one.
They signed a 34-year-old LeBron. For
At
4
the time, the
years.
best player in the NBA since
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. They signed
Yeah.
him for 4 years.
And after that, we see?
What, how is he setting? How is it setting him back for 10
First
years?
of all, we see right now.
wait. Explain the 10 year thing for me. How is it setting them back
First of
10
all,
years?
Now we see Magic and Pelinka do not really know what they're doing.
Well, I could have
So-
told you that with the team they put around him. That's Magic and Pelinka, not LeBron. The
That's-
signing of
that's
LeBron
not-
setting the franchise back.
The management isn't going to just have some miracle change around.
It's
in the
not
next
that
4
hard. You
years.
put 3-point shooting around LeBron and guys that can actually go get a
Well,
bucket.
it seems that hard because they
They
thought
went
they
the
put the
opposite
right team
direction.
around LeBron.
They went the complete opposite direction.
After these 4 years are over, whether LeBron wins the championship or not, everything's going to be broken up and they have to start over. And how long is that good? They haven't made the playoffs in 6 years. They might not
Soon
make
to
the
be
playoffs
7.
this season. What, you make the playoffs for 3 years straight, you may win a title or not. Then
If
how,
you win a title, it doesn't matter.
then how many more years do you have of start over again?
It doesn't. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think if the Lakers win one title,
That's still setting.
does
that's
not
still setting,
matter.
That's still setting their franchise back.
okay, let me give you some
A few-
perspective. Let me
a
give you some
few-
perspective here. Let me give you some
Okay.
perspective here. Pistons sign a big free agent, but it sets the franchise back 10 years.
Oh, I've already
But they win a championship in that decade. Do you take that back? Would you rather them not sign that player? No, you take the championship because that's all we
It's
play for.
different-
For
it's
no,
different
it's not
situations.
different.
It's
How is it
different
different?
situations.
Explain to me how it's different.
I don't think the Lakers are going to be contending for championships for the entire time LeBron
No,
is
but
there.
I'm
I
just
think-
saying my
I think
argument
they
is
may possibly get to one. If the Pistons got a big free agent and they were contending for championship status every year, I'd be happy. The Lakers aren't going to be contending for
Well, I'm
championship
not even-
status every year.
I'm not even
They're
talking.
going to have this little stint and then they have to start over all again.
I'm not even talking about them even contending for a couple years. I'm just saying in that 10-year span, if they win one championship, is it worth it? Yes, it is.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
If we have one championship and then mediocrity and then being horrible for years after that, this is right now they're mediocre.
Who, the Lakers?
Yes. If he gets one championship, they're not gonna win a whole bunch of championships.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think it's a success if LeBron gets one championship.
One championship, hooray! Now we got to be horrible again for years to come.
I think horrible is quite. I don't think they're going to be horrible.
Before LeBron, they haven't made the playoffs for 6 years. There's not gonna be a miraculous process after LeBron.
Trust the process.
That was his rebuttal.
No, I'm just that just had to, every time someone says process, I want to say trust the process. It's
Sam
just-
Hinkie isn't coming to LA, Chris.
You don't know that. You do not know that. No, but I guess we differ in that opinion that I think if it doesn't matter what franchise it is, when it comes down to just winning, the main goal
Thirsty Lakers fans.
is to win a championship. If you can win one championship in 10 years, that's a success for most franchises. Boston, of course, it's not. Lakers, for the most part, it's not. But recently, that would be.
But Boston had Danny Ainge. They won a championship. They sent the old guys away, and they immediately began the smart rebuild. They got back to
Oh,
the
I'm not.
playoffs in 2
Well,
or
I'm not.
3
I'm
years.
not. I'm not arguing
That's
that
why
they
I
did a
said
great job of rebuilding. I'm
winning,
just.
winning a championship is one thing. There has to be a plan outside of just one champion. If there's one championship and then everything just goes back to I'm sorry.
That's still, but that's besides the point that I'm trying to make here.
Okay.
The point is, if you win one championship in 10 years, do you consider it a success? I say yes,
Okay.
and you say no.
I say no.
Okay.
There has to be consistency. There has to be one championship. You
give me a ring every 10 years, I'm good.
Well, that doesn't
I'm
happen
good.
for any. Besides the Lakers.
There's a
Besides
big
the
flaw.
Lakers.
There's a big flaw here.
Let's hear it, Joe.
LeBron's not going to play for 10 years.
No, but his thing was
I understand
If-
what he's saying,
it's gonna set the Lakers back 10
but
years.
their timetable is a lot
Yes.
shorter.
If they stuck with the young guy plan, that may have become something for years to come. It could have, but they went with the LeBron plan for a few years.
Brandon
and
Ingram
then-
ain't winning him a
And
chip.
then we'll see. I'm not saying
Brandon Ingram ain't winning him a chip.
Ingram, Kuzma, Lonzo, you keep building, you get some veterans in.
Lonzo, oh my! Why don't they just draft
Lonzo Ball's a
LaMelo
good
Ball
young-
too?
I don't think LeBron's going to
What
win a
kind of play is that?
championship with them
I don't
either.
know.
And then they will be set back for more than 10 years. If LeBron doesn't win a championship, because to get a championship for LeBron, potential, they have to trade all their young guys.
You have to make everything different, and then when he's gone, you have to make everything different again. That's not a.
But they're okay. It seems like Anthony Davis is almost certainly going to be a Laker.
Is LeBron and Anthony Davis enough? I honestly,
But
that is
but
a
when
big
they,
question.
When they trade all their young players and a cap filler for Anthony Davis, whatever it ends up being, they'll be close, or they can make the money work where they can sign another player to a max contract, creating a big three.
Who else is going to be on the roster?
All the rumbles is Kyrie Irving.
There's also been rumbles that he's going to go to New York with Kevin Durant.
There's
That's
so
true
many. There's
too.
so
But
many
I'm
different
saying
rumors,
if they build a big three around LeBron with, let's just say, Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, those are two younger-ish players that can still play past LeBron's prime and still carry the load while LeBron kind of goes towards retirement and helps that team in the transitional phase.
That's if it gets done.
That's if it gets done. But that's a way the Lakers could bridge the gap from the LeBron era to the next era.
I believe the Lakers organization and fans should want more. I'll end with that.
Yeah, they're going to win a championship. Someday.
Maybe
Someday.
one day.
One day. I will guarantee they
They're
win a
running out,
championship.
they're running out of time.
What do you know that we don't?
LeBron's getting close.
Oh.
He's honestly, he's already showing age.
No, he's not. I mean, he never played defense anyways until it got to the finals.
He was first team defense, Chris. I'm a LeBron apologist. He's a really good defender.
He is a good defender when
Look
he
at
wants
all the
to be.
chase down blocks. He's a great defender.
When he wants to be, he can.
He'll never be the
So we got on a big LeBron tangent there.
GOAT.
But
Good argument. Good argument.
But what went wrong with the Lakers this season? What was ultimately the deciding factor that plummeted this team?
There are so many factors that come into it. It's from Magic and Pelinka constructing this team to outside forces getting involved in NBA business now, which is becoming more of a regular thing, which is tampering, to the Pelicans just toying with the Lakers, to the young guys. It seems like they're not over all the controversy to LeBron to him saying I'm playoff mode activated and him not really being playoff mode activated.
And trying to trade them.
Yeah, that, and then the Lonzo injury, LeBron being out for time. It's so much stuff put into one pot. It's so much. It's not just one thing. It's so many things that you put together that make this pretty much a failure of a season.
Hey, Joey, can you give me one solid factor that plummeted this team?
Just one factor?
Give me the one that sticks out the most to you.
I think it's obvious.
I want to say it's
the one factor.
I want to say
most.
it's the GM.
Is that what you're gonna say?
I was gonna say, to me, it's Magic and Pelinka. That's
Yeah,
the
I think
biggest thing.
the front office.
But yeah,
LeBron is the front office.
LeBron
That's why I said GM.
Yeah.
LeBron and his people definitely have a role in all this.
That's why I was gonna say
But I
I
don't
feel
think
like
it's a huge
I feel
percentage.
like there's two factors, is the front office and LeBron, because LeBron is part of the front office. But anyway, like those are two serious those are two serious issues. The front office didn't create the greatest lineup around the team. They didn't have the shooters that LeBron has been accustomed to
Ever
with
since
Cleveland.
that Rondo signing, I was confused.
But
Ever since that Rondo signing happened,
they figured that the young talent that they had would develop better. We've seen Kyle Kuzma is definitely a star in this league. Brandon Ingram,
he can score, but he on the defensive end, he's nowhere near he needs to be.
Brandon Ingram is a big problem
I don't think he's a big problem. I think
in this fit, in this mold.
Yeah. He always shows flashes of being a star, but he always is extremely inconsistent and can't hit free throws consistently. And for his length, he's not that much of a good defender, which is shocking.
And people thought he'd put on at least some sort of muscle like Kevin Durant did. He hasn't.
And this time around, like it wasn't like the Cavs where they went out and they got Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, these shooters. They went out and got JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson,
Reggie Bullock,
Rajon Rondo.
Oh wait,
what are those signings? Like it doesn't.
it's all.
I get that
Mike
they're
Muscala.
they're quality
next Kurt
veterans,
Rambis.
but they're not those shooters that
Yeah.
we've come to know on a LeBron team.
Yeah, like we talked about, it's Magic and Rob Pelinka tried to act like they were the smartest people in the room by signing all these playmakers and be like, "Oh, this is what you got to do to win with LeBron. Not get all the shooters, take the pressure off him. Get playmakers like Rondo, like Lance, take the pressure off him."
But
No.
LeBron had to be a part of those talks.
I agree with you.
I also think it's a huge element of the difference between how the Lakers run things and how the Cavs run things. In LA, the management has control. It's not going to be, okay, LeBron, tell us everything. What do you want? What do you need?
I disagree.
Jeannie Buss is nobody's going to. She controls things.
To-
Magic and Pelinka, of course, they're going to get LeBron's input. But at the end of the day, Magic Johnson is Magic Johnson. He'll always think he knows what's best for the Lakers. And him teaming up with Rob Pelinka, they think they know what's best. In Cleveland, it's all LeBron, tell us what you need. We're going to get it. That's the end of the story.
To be fair to Malik's point, if LeBron was the one making all the calls, Luke Walton would not be here right now.
Right. No,
Exactly.
I agree with that
Even
point.
down to coaching in Cleveland, it was, what do you want? You want David Blatt out? Okay, he's gone. Let's bring in Tyronn Lue.
Luke Walton is the definition of a dead man walking. Mark Stein even reported some things saying that inside circles tell him that it's all but done, that he's going to be fired after the season because it's already too late.
Yeah, they're saying Tyronn is coming in too, which is wild.
Did they say that? I didn't see that. Tyronn Lue?
They're saying they're going to offer Tyronn a whole bunch of money to come in.
That'd be actually really cool. I'd be in for that.
There's also rumors about Carmelo still.
The Carmelo rumor is
They
that
stopped talks.
yeah.
It said because they're not a winning team.
Well, there's
Because they're not in the playoff race
Exactly.
right
and
now.
Carmelo wants to be on a playoff team. There's some other NBA topics I want to get to before the end of the show, but we do have to talk about our Detroit Pistons. They've won 8 of 9.
Our Pistons, right, Joey?
You're not a Pistons fan?
I have an announcement to make.
I haven't. This is
Hold on.
dramatic.
Hold on.
Yeah, get whatever you need ready. This is dramatic. Takes a sip of water. You gonna clear your throat too?
I'm a little bit excited about this Pistons team.
Hey, I am also that win against that win against Toronto gave me a little bit of hope. I was happy watching that Pistons game.
There was an edge to that team.
Yes, they played like they want. Andre Drummond is playing like he wants to win. That's at the
Andre
smallest
Drummond
thing,
missing.
That's good.
Andre Drummond missing the All-Star game was the best thing for the Pistons this season. When it comes to them competing for a playoff spot, regardless, all of our opinions, I think we can all say is we wanted them to tank and rebuild and do that completely, but we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, for the Pistons to actually succeed and actually make the season somewhat worth watching as a fan, Andre Drummond missing the All-Star game was the best thing because he's had an edge ever since. But yeah, they've won 8 of 9. They have one of the easier schedules. They have the easiest schedule between all the teams they're competing with in the playoffs and the lower seeds. Easier than Brooklyn, easier than Charlotte, Miami, Orlando. And a huge factor, the return of Reggie Jackson.
Let's not be too dramatic yet.
Over
because
the last
this
11
is,
games.
That's what I'll say. This is just a stretch of 11 games. He's looking like his old self, but
He's shooting nearly 40% from three,
I'm still being hesitant.
Averaging-
I like what I'm seeing.
averaging just under 20 points per game and about 31 minutes per game.
Good to see. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing,
Joey,
which is the thing.
this Reggie Jackson, how do you feel about this Reggie Jackson?
He's better. I don't like him. I'm never going to change my mind about that. I just don't like the
Why?
way that he plays.
What?
Would you rather have Reggie Jackson or Blake Griffin with the ball at the end of the quarter or at the end of the game?
Blake.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I need. I get scared when Reggie starts to have games like
I don't
this.
get scared.
Although,
because
when Reggie is healthy and confident, even in OKC he was clutch. Reggie has when
He's
he
got
was
that
in the,
clutch
when he was
factor.
in the playoffs in Memphis.
As Greg Kelser said, he's got the clutchness.
Like they would go to Reggie at times when Russell Westbrook was in foul trouble and Reggie would deliver. When he's healthy and confident, he can do these type of things. It's just you can't let him get the big head to where Reggie, you take the ball and take over whenever.
that's what I'm saying.
But
It's a
with,
very
with Blake on the team now, it should balance out.
it's a double-edged sword in that. That's the only thing that ever scares me about Reggie Jackson is his decision-making late in games. I know that he's done it before. He can have great finishes to a game, but he can also have big duds. And
but he hasn't had many
Makes me
duds
nervous.
over the last 13 games.
that's what makes me even more nervous. He hasn't had him yet.
And he looks like he's got that at least somewhat of a burst of speed that he hasn't had even in the beginning of the season.
It's been a while.
And
since
it's
he's-
noticeable.
Yeah.
Can you see it? You can see that as well, Malik, right? Joey? Oh my.
I think
It's like he can't admit that Reggie's playing well. He will never admit it.
I think the biggest factor on this team, obviously Andre Drummond, turning it around. But I think finally getting some depth behind these guys is a big deal.
I think
I will.
I don't think I still don't think they have that much depth. I think they have some.
No, but they have
somewhat
more than what they had.
Yeah.
Thon Maker gives them a good look defensively.
They actually have a usable backup big man
Yeah.
that's not named
The
John
fact
Lure.
that he
Right.
plays hard at all times.
Right, that is
yeah.
a big thing.
And-
That's a Pistons kind of player too. We've had Jason Maxiell, guys like that have come in, been like kind of defensive
He shows
stoppers.
emotion.
And he's not
Yeah.
afraid to go for the block,
Exactly.
Right.
which I think plays a huge role defensively. Like, players have to be wary that at least Thon's going to try to block your shot. When Zaza's on the court, they don't care. But
Him getting ejected that last game was kind of funny.
that was good. I think they needed it. I think that was a good vet move by Zaza.
Luke Kennard also getting aggressive.
that's what I was gonna
is a
talk
big
about.
deal.
Luke-
That may be one of the biggest.
Luke's been
factors.
playing
He's
about-
he's finally playing how I expected him to be playing the past few seasons.
Oh.
Even though the whole Stan Van Gundy debacle happened, and yeah, that was the whole falling out. But yeah, he just needed time to get more confidence and get settled.
Yeah, Luke's been playing.
He has the talent.
He's been playing close to 30 minutes a game over this last 8-game
His
stretch.
3-point shooting has been ridiculous.
Over the last 10 games, he's shooting 50% from 3.
Yeah.
He's shooting 6 threes per game and shooting 50 or above
That Cleveland
on
game,
average.
he was unconscious in that Cleveland game.
I think the stat was
7 to 9.
he's 10 of 12 over his
Cleveland
last 12 3-point attempts. That's ridiculous.
You give him space, yeah, he's that
'Cause
good
if
of
you-
a shooter.
If you can get a bench of Kennard, Ish Smith, Thon Maker, that's pretty good. And then we know that,
and Luke's been finishing games.
right. And we know that there are times that Galloway looks okay. So maybe he adds another bench player. So then, there is some depth there, which we need in the playoffs.
looking ahead on their schedule, again, like we talked about, they have a very favorable schedule even within the next 6 games. Wednesday, they play at home against Minnesota, winnable game. It'll be a tougher one because Karl Anthony Towns has been playing out of his mind since Jimmy Butler was traded. Then they have a home and home with Chicago. You can sweep that.
Chicago's been playing pretty good, though, so they can't sleep on them.
They can't sleep on them, but you expect the team that's been playing this well and in the thick of the playoff race to win those games. Monday, they play at Brooklyn. That's a big game. And then Wednesday, it's at Miami next Wednesday, the 13th.
Another big game.
And then they come home to the Lakers, who have been struggling, and honestly might be an easy game.
That game might be the hardest I root for a Pistons team in a long time.
And you know,
Really,
there's a lot of Laker fans in the Metro Detroit area.
I'm going to support the Pistons so hard in that one.
But yeah, we got to talk about too. So the Pistons, they're in the driver's seat of their own destiny for the rest of the season. I can see them winning a couple games above 500, staying in that 6th seed. Joey, do you think they stay in the 6th seed?
No.
Do you think they make the playoffs?
Yes.
That doesn't sound
I
convincing.
think it's too hard at this point for Charlotte or Miami to catch up, especially because they've been playing kind of bad. So I think the Pistons are almost a lock into the playoffs at this point, but I don't know if they're going to stay in this seed. Like, all 3 of those teams at the back of the East playoffs, Detroit, Brooklyn, and Orlando, are all playing pretty well right now. So that's
Orlando's really up and down.
I think that'll be a little bit of a jumble, but if the Pistons are going to do anything in the playoffs, they need to realize they need this 6th seed. If Indiana stays at the 3, because that's the only favorable matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they could make Toronto competitive, but by no means would I pick them to win more than a game or 2. If you play Milwaukee, they're going to get just blown out of the gym. It'll be a sweep with an average deficit of 20 points. But, yeah, so we'll talk more about the Pistons throughout, since apparently they're about to make the playoffs. Trae Young. Joey, want to talk some Trae Young?
I just wanted to give him a little bit of love,
32-10 since the All-Star break.
You see he got ejected for staring at Chris Dunn?
Listen,
that is
listen.
bad. That's just bad officiating.
These NBA refs this season are.
I feel like we say that
I don't
every
know,
year.
man.
We say it every year. The officiating is just going down the drain.
I usually don't say. I usually give referees the benefit of the doubt because
you're a classy
everybody
guy,
thinks every referee is bad.
which they are.
It's come on.
I was a ref myself. I was bad. I was terrible.
Come on, man. You can't give a. It's the emotion of the game. It's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It's competitive. It's what the game
that was.
is.
I wonder if the official didn't realize. I think part of it is he didn't realize Trae Young got a double tech earlier in the game and that he would have been ejected. So I'm sure he didn't mean to do that, and I'm sure he probably got talked to by Adam Silver. Be like, this guy is still a name people want to watch. You cannot throw him out for that.
And he didn't do anything.
He just stared at him.
He hit a shot and looked at somebody. That's
over officiating. It's over officiating.
That is one of the beautiful parts of basketball.
You know how many times I've done that to Chris in my career?
Exactly. The competition of going back and forth between competitors is what makes this NBA great.
I'm just going to tell you this one time. Yes. You want to keep working here. Stay off the drugs.
Actually, I don't know why I said this NBA is great, because it's not. It's not great. But it's what made the NBA great. And it's the reason why this NBA isn't as good as it used to be. Doesn't have the same fire.
Spoken like an old soul. Yeah. Spoken like Joey Tysick. That's really all we got for the show. We got a couple minutes. I want to know what's going on in your realm, guys. Joey, I haven't had a Tysick take in forever. I'm putting you on the spot.
He usually is just feeling it whenever he has a take. I don't know if you.
Oh no!
He usually can't force takes.
We're almost to like tournament time and playoff time, so I gotta kind of hold off on the takes.
You gotta hold off. You gotta save them.
Yeah, because there's not a lot going on to like make hot takes about. You gotta save
there's
it up
lots going on
for tournament time.
Malik, what's your take on the whole Tristan Thompson scenario?
Stop
I know you're big on it.
Did the Pistons sign Carmelo Anthony?
Wait, what? No.
Finally.
No.
Come on.
I'm going to talk a little about college basketball because there's a lot going on. Nevada is cooling off from what everybody thought they would be. They're a mid-major that can still make a run, but show signs of they go to their key guys and that's it. They don't have depth on the bench. They have a 5-star player that they brought in, and they don't really have depth with which is shocking. And Eric Musselman is really his coaching is getting kind of weird. They're getting supplanted by other mid-major teams. Gonzaga's number 1. Teams like Wofford is ranked right now. They have 1 loss in conference, and they have a guy Eric McGee who I think he has the most games in like the past 20 years of 8 or more threes in this season. Yeah, Wofford is just playing out of their minds.
Virginia, did you see that game the other night?
Yeah, Virginia's just a top.
They hit
quality
18
team.
threes.
Yeah, when they get
tied a school
when
record.
Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome get going, there's no stopping them.
DeAndre Hunter, one of the better players in the country.
I can't wait till the NCAA tournament show because I think Kentucky could make a run to the championship. They are
Also
dangerous. They are a dangerous team.
They've dropped some games though that surprise you.
They have because they're a young team, but when that team is rolling, they're really good. Man.
The March Madness show is tentatively scheduled.
It's going to be March 18th or 19th.
March 18th or 19th.
Most likely 19th.
Most likely 19th. We will have a couple surprise guests in the studio joining us as we break down the entire bracket like we did last year, go through each matchup, and kind of make a views from the sideline NCAA bracket. Last year, you guys know, we were here supporting Loyola since day one.
Sister Jean.
Sister Jean. We knew they had something happening.
Right now,
I think they're not going to win the conference this year, but they still have a chance to get in.
Right now in bracketology, they have Loyola Chicago playing Michigan State in the first round.
I would pick Loyola.
LOL.
I would pick Loyola.
I think a lot of people might pick Loyola.
I'm sure a lot of people
Yeah.
would.
That's gonna be everybody's main first week upset.
Oh yeah, definitely. 100%.
But they're not going to do it this year, and nobody's going to pick Virginia. I think Virginia's dangerous.
Joe picks Virginia every single year.
I took a year off last year, and I was glad. I didn't expect them to lose to the Labs, but whatever. Or the Retrievers.
Well, that's gonna do it for our show this week. It's Views from the Sideline, March 5th, 2019. We will see you guys next week for conference tournament previews.
Bye.